Hey guys, so it's Michael. So learning Ruby on Rails could be a little bit challenging or very challenging depending on how much experience you have in programming. But here in this video, I'm going to show you just some high-level overview. And if you are already familiar with CodeIgniter and Object Relational Mapper or Data Mapper, then you should be able to watch this video and kind of get a good idea how Ruby on Rails works. And you will have more, you will gain more experience as you go through other tutorials in this chapter and other chapters. But if you're already familiar with CodeIgniter and Data Mapper, hopefully this will give you kind of a good high-level overview of how Ruby on Rails works. And as you follow other tutorials, you will gain a stronger foundation. So here I'm using Mac, and I have this application, Ruby on Rails project called First App, and I'm going to create a server. So the way that I create a server, I do Rails S. S stands for server, and this is going to launch a server in localhost port 3000. So let's wait. So it's starting the server, so I can go to localhost 3000, and I created this application using Bootstrapper. If I click on View Page Source, you can see that I have Bootstrapper. Where's Bootstrapper? Yeah, it'll kind of make sense. It doesn't show up over here. I think it's stored in one of the assets application. It compiled the Twitter Bootstrapper and all the other CSS into a single CSS. That's what Ruby on Rails do. They do a lot of things in the background. But this is just a very simple HTML that's using Ruby on Rails. This is Heroku, no, Hero Unit. And you can see that all of this was created using Twitter Bootstrapper front end. So I can sign in. This is also alert class in Twitter Bootstrap. I can sign up, and just very easy, very simple. So I can go in and sign in, and I can sign out. I can click on profile. I can sign out. Okay, so just a very simple application, and let's see how this is done using Ruby on Rails. So I'm using Sublime. And let me just kind of give you an overall picture. So gem file, this contains all the different libraries that I can use. So instead of downloading these files and putting it into a folder, I can just put one line, for example, say, hey, I want to use jQuery on all of my codes, and I just include this, and it will do everything for you. I can also say, okay, I'm using Bootstrap Sass, and it will just make it work for you. I can add other libraries. Don't worry about these other libraries for now. Okay, but you put things in the gem file, and then you go to the console. You will be doing a lot of things on the command prompt, and then you will go to the project that you did, and then you do bundle install, and this will just compile some of these libraries in your Ruby on Rails application. Okay, so Ruby on Rails is an MVC framework, right? So you will see that a lot of things look exactly like CodeIgniter. There is config file, so you can change some of the configuration settings, some of the database settings. If I wanted to use MySQL database, then in gem file, instead of saying SQLite, I could have specified MySQL, and then I could have gone to the config file and put in the username and password and other things. And you will learn more about this as you go through other tutorials. There's routes, so you can, when people go to contact, I want to have people go to pages controller contact method, and you will learn about these resources. These are really, really cool. And so it has routing. So let's close that. And then if you go to the app folder, it has controllers, okay, models, and views. And it has some more stuff like layouts. Now for each controller, it creates a new folder automatically, pages. So if I want to create a new controller, I can do, for example, Rails generate, or I can just do Rails G controller, generate a controller, and let's say I want to create a controller called main. then I can just type that command, and this will generate. Notice they created a main controller in the controllers folder. It created a helper file for that, and then yeah, don't worry about these other things. Don't worry about RSpec for right now. So if I go here, it already has the main controller, and so anyway, maybe I'm going a little bit too much. But if I go into the pages controller, for example, there is the method home, and this is how I create the create a variable, and I don't need to even say render the view file. It automatically just pulls the appropriate view file. So for this example, pages controller home, it will go to the views, pages, and then home. So this is the home page where I just put the hero unit, link to learn more, I put the sign-in path, I put the class to this, and the sign-in path, the way that this works is if I go to the routes file, if I go to config routes, sign in, so that sign-in underscore path just refers to that. So if the sign-in path change, for example, new, let's say 35, then instead of going to each view file and changing it all, I can just change it in the routes.php, and it will change all the appropriate URL appropriately because I use sign-in underscore path, not like slash session slash new. Okay, all right. So that's the benefit of using the route here underscore path. So this could be about underscore path and things like that. Okay, so that's it. Now let's look into contact. Okay, contact dots is empty. Let's look into the session. So session, this is a little bit more complicated. So I created a variable and I passed it to the view, and this is how I create a new user when they register. So I authenticate the user by passing in the email and the password in the session, and then if the user is not found, if the user is not authenticated, I pass a flash variable with the key error, and the keys are passed just using colon session. Just think of this kind of like a string, but it's lighter than a string because string in Ruby is an object and it's pretty massive. So we use this colon variable name a lot. So if the user is not found, we pass a flash variable with the name air, and then we render the new page. Okay. If the user was authenticated, then we sign in the user and stuff like that. So new, create, destroy. Okay. So now if I go to let's go to the sessions. Okay. So this is the sign-in page. So let's look at the sessions controller new. So what I'm doing over here is I'm creating a form for the session. I'm putting the email, password, and the submit button, and the URL. It should go to the sessions path, and it works. Now, okay, where's the login? Shared users. So this is a form for the new user. This is just a page that displays all the users. So I get users.h and then display the name and the link. Now if I look at the model, so this is the user model. So if you have done object relational mapper, a lot of this will seem very similar. So in the sessions controller, I posted the user information, right? So I validate whether the name exists, email exists, password, just different sub functions. And then before I save it, I encrypt password. This example does a little bit more advanced password protection than what we may have done in the previous example, but it basically authenticates it, and yeah, it works. So if you have done object relational mapper, a lot of these things will just look very similar, although there is a little bit of learning curve. Okay, now some examples, some differences, like you can use layout. So you can see that I put in the style sheet JavaScript. These are automatically generated from Ruby on Rails. And then this, I go through each flash variable, key and the value, and for the key, I put it as the name of the class, alert, success, alert, error, whatever, and then I put in the value here. And this yield is where the contents for the views go. Okay, so this layout application, all the view files are displayed, over here. And then if the Rails environment is development, then I also use this debug parameters, which is what you see down over here. So anyway, if some of these things look a little bit different, yes, it is different than CodeIgniter, but once you get familiar with how the form is created, and also you will get very familiar with what resources are. They use what's called REST, and it's pretty cool. So okay, I'll probably have to recreate this video later, but I hope that was somewhat helpful. Okay, bye.